Welcome to Flawless Shoe Reviews. Today we're comparing the Ghost Max 3 with the Ghost Max 2. So a lot of you out there didn't enjoy the changes from the 1 to 2. The 1 was a really orthotic friendly shoe. However, the 2 was a little bit narrower and felt a little bit different. Well, I think most of you will be really happy with the changes they've made to the Ghost Max 3. So when we look at the midsole, we still have the DNA Loft V3 nitrogen injected midsole, but it does feel slightly different, and there's a couple of reasons for that. One is they've really improved the heel bevel, so it's a little bit broader than what we saw on version 2, and that makes it a little bit smoother when you initiate contact with the ground and transition through to the midfoot. They've also altered the sidewalls, so we've got quite a large sidewall when you initiate contact right on the back of the heel, and as we move towards the midfoot on the outside and on the inside of the shoe, so it's a slightly different setup than what we saw in the Ghost Max 2. And that increased width on the heel bevel and the new sidewalls make it a really stable platform when you initiate contact with the ground, and it makes a really nice smooth transition from the back to the front of the shoe. So a little bit of an improvement in terms of stability and in terms of the transition from the back to the front. And that's not the only changes that we see in the midsole, so we still have a really nice smooth forefoot rocker that's a tiny bit more aggressive but with minimal toe spring. And that's really important because a lot of you who wanted an orthotic friendly shoe or a really stable neutral shoe, if you have minimal toe spring, it means that it doesn't place extra sensitivity or pressure on the ball of your foot. It's still got that classic 6mm drop that we saw in the Ghost Max 2, and it comes in around the same stack height with 39mm in the rear foot and 33 in the forefoot. So we kind of classify 5-6mm as a relative low drop, and that creates a nice even distribution of pressure across your foot. Now, the cushioning is relatively balanced to firm, so when you apply pressure to it when you're walking, it's really comfortable, not necessarily mushy or cloud-like, but a nice balanced cushioning that you sink into it a little bit to give you that extra element of comfort if you're standing or walking in it for long periods of time. But it's not too soft, so you don't sink into it too much, and that's really important if you want to use the shoe for an orthotic. Sometimes if we prescribe an orthotic and you put angles of support on it, if you have a really mushy or soft shoe, well then when you apply pressure to it, it just sinks into the foam and it's not as effective as what we might like. By having a nice balanced shoe, it promotes the effectiveness of the orthotic itself, and because you've got a really wide platform in the Ghost Max 3, it allows plenty of space for your orthotic to fit into it. Now, those of you who don't wear an orthotic, what you'll find is a really classic stable neutral shoe without any invasive pressure up into the arch of your foot. So it provides stability with its broad platform, some nice sole flare and the sidewalls that you don't really notice in terms of feeling pressure points or direct pressure on your foot. So they've done an excellent job with this, and some of you will have noticed some issues with the toe box on the Ghost Max 2 in terms of being a little bit narrower. Well, that's not a problem on the Ghost Max 3, and that's down to two reasons. One is they've changed the upper to a jacquard engineered mesh, so it's a little bit stretchier and a little bit more flexible, so it moves around your toes nicely, it doesn't squash them too much, and it's not as tapered at the top of the toe box as what we saw in the Ghost Max 2. Finally, you've got a slightly wider platform to allow your toes to splay, so it gives you extra space in that toe box for those of you who need it. And as we move up the shoe, we still have this nice thick padded tongue that's non-gusseted. We had no issues with slippage, it locks down really nicely, and you've got a really stiff heel counter with loads of padding around the heel collar, which you'd expect with a shoe that's focused on comfort. Now, the weight comes in roughly around the same of 306 to 309 grams for a size 9 men's US, so not a huge change in that. But those of you who are disappointed in the Ghost Max 2, I think you'll really enjoy the subtle updates of the Ghost Max 3. Now, when it comes to lifestyle use, it's the perfect shoe for walking and standing all day. It gives you ultimate comfort and it's really balanced. For those of you who want to use it for running, it is a bit heavy of a shoe, so you might use it for those easy runs, so those recovery runs, so it helps to absorb that vibration and impact when you walk or when you run. However, it's definitely not a shoe for those faster workouts, mainly due to its weight and its geometry. However, if you have any questions on it, please drop them in the comment section below. If you'd like to pick up the shoes, we've got links in the description. Purchasing through the links helps fund our channel without affecting the price that you pay. Otherwise, if you found the video helpful or interesting, liking, sharing, subscribing does make a massive difference to us, so thank you very much for watching.